Today, I'm going to show you how to make what I'm calling a drill press stand, but in reality, it's a cabinet on wheels with some drawers and a door for storage. Hey everyone, my name is Tim and welcome back to another episode of Casual Builds, the channel focused on bringing you beginner DIY and woodworking content. So before we jump into today's project, I wanted to quickly explain why I'm building a new drill press table for my workshop. The first main reason is that my drill press table sits right next to my CNC, so I'll use my laptop over here, but it gets in the way of my drill press and I have to keep moving it and pushing it out of the way if I want to use my laptop and take the laptop away if I need to use my drill press. And the next main reason is that these are all of the most common parts and accessories that I use with my CNC that just kind of sit on this table next to my bandsaw. I do have a few other things that are on that shelf, so I want to find a way that I can get all of these all together and organize them in one of the drawers in the new drill press table. And next, I just picked up this air compressor recently and it just needs a better place to live other than just sitting on the floor in my workshop getting in the way. And lastly, with the air compressor came a few tools and accessories, so I'll designate the third drawer in the drill press table to store all of those. So I do know that this drill press table is very specific to me and my workshop. However, if you're interested in building something similar for your own shop, I do have plans available and I will leave a link to those in the video description down below. So go check those out if you're interested. So the first step is to create the box for the drill press table, the top, the bottom, the two sides, and two stretchers. And I'm gonna be using this 5x5 sheet of Baltic birch plywood that you see here behind me. However, any plywood will do. So I'm gonna grab that, I'm gonna plop it down on my table saw and my workbench, grab my circular saw and a straight edge, and start ripping them into more manageable pieces that I can take to my table saw. So let's go ahead and start with that. So I have all the pieces of the box cut out. I also labeled all of them so I know which piece goes where. And I also labeled the factory edge for each piece as well. And the reason I did that is because I want to take the factory edge, line that up against my table saw fence, trim it down just a little bit, flip the board over, and then cut that factory edge off, because that way I'll make sure that each edge is nice and clean. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna take all the pieces over to my table saw, cut them down to the final dimension, and then it will be on to assembly. So I'm going to be using my Craig pocket hole jig to assemble the outer cabinet. And because my material is 3/4 of an inch, that means that I need to use 1 1/4 inch screws, and those screws need to be coarsely threaded. So I'm going to drill pocket holes in the two stretchers and in the bottom panel, and then assemble everything with a little bit of glue and some screws. Now with the outer box all assembled, I thought now would be a good time to add the casters just to make it a little bit easier to move around my workshop since it is getting a little bit heavy. But the casters that I bought off of Amazon do come with a washer and a screw, and the screw is just a tad long, and if I just attach it to the bottom of this 3/4 inch plywood base, it's going to pop out on the other side. So quick solution is that I do have this 1/4 inch sheet of plywood that I'm just gonna cut into little rectangles and put that down first, put the caster on top of it, and it should give us enough clearance so these screws don't pop through the other side. So let's go do that. So off camera, I cut out all of the pieces for the drawer boxes. The bottom parts I will take care of later on, but in order for these drawer boxes to fit snugly within the drill press stand, I picked up a little technique from Brad over at Fix This Build That. So I'm gonna share that with you now. So if there's one thing that you take away from this video, it is this technique, because it makes assembling and dimensioning drawers for whatever cabinets or whatever you're making so much easier. All right, the first step is that you want to measure the inside area of the cabinet or whatever you're making. In my case, it's 22.5 inches. And next you'll want to measure the thickness of your drawer slides. Mine are 1/2 inch. Now just take the measurement of the opening, 22.5 inches minus 0.5 times 2 for 2 drawer slides, which is 1 inch. Right? So 21.5 inches. Now, remember that. And then you want to cut out 2 little small spacer blocks made from the same plywood that you cut out all of your drawer boxes. And lastly, you want to set up a stop block at the dimension that we came up with earlier. That was the opening of the cabinet minus the thickness of the 2 drawer slides. Next, you want to take those 2 spacer blocks that we cut out using the same material as the plywood that we're using for the drawer boxes, set that up against the stop block. Then you want to take the plywood that you cut out for your drawer box, set that up against the 2 spacer blocks, and then make the cut. And then that way, these will be the perfect length for your drawer boxes. All right, so now it's time to attach the drawer bottoms to the drawer boxes, and this would actually be a good time for you to sand everything down, maybe up to 120 grit before assembling everything. Just makes it a little bit easier. And to attach the drawer bottoms, I'm just going to be using glue and some brad nails. And I'm also going to be adding a slight chamfer on the bottoms as well using my router, and it just helps give it a better look and feel. So you can see by adding that chamfer on the bottom panel of the drawers, it almost makes it look invisible and a lot cleaner in my opinion. Also, I realized that I never attached the top to the drill press stand, and I should have drilled pocket holes along the sides up here because I don't want any screws showing from the top. So I'm going to be using this pocket hole jig from Craig, bring this over to my material and drill the pocket holes there and then attach the top that way. All right, so now it's time to install the drawers. And now I'm used to installing drawers and cabinets from the bottom, working my way up. And I'll usually take the drawer slide, attach it to the cabinet first, and then set the drawer in, pull it out a little bit, and then screw it in that way. However, I have 3 drawers and they start from the top. And I can't do that method because of gravity. So I'm going to install the drawer slide to the drawer first, and then that should give me the measurements needed to be able to figure out where to put it in the cabinet here. And I'm gonna cut out some spacer blocks just to help set it up there while I screw it in. If you know a better way to do this, please let me know in the comments down below. And if you don't know a better way to do this, you can just say hello. So we're getting close to the end of this project. There's only a couple things that we need to do next, and that includes cutting out the poplar board for the trim or the edge banding around the top, cutting out the drawer faces and installing the drawer pulls, and then cutting out the panel for the bottom door. If you found this video helpful and you want to support my channel, all you got to do is hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if you are not already. So that being said, let's go ahead and wrap this project up. All right, the last thing that we need to do before I can wheel this on over to where it belongs and start filling up the drawers with tools and accessories and bits and whatnot is to add a door to the bottom. I'm gonna be using this Craig jig to help me out with the hinges. Then once that's installed, I'm gonna be adding the back panel using 1/4 inch plywood. And then lastly, I'm going to be adding a few coats of water-based polyurethane to the top.